Myra, do you want to do the motzi from here? Or down there? That's what she told me. Somebody's doing the motzi. She told me you were doing both.
We'll take the mic like to Betsy Nero.
Okay. No, I just didn't know if you wanted me to move it to there.
It's fine.
We're sorry for the early meeting this morning, but tonight is Erev Sukkot, and we needed to have our meeting early. So I'd like to get started. The meeting is called to order. I am Gail Glick, President of Sisterhood. I would like to welcome all of you to our second Sisterhood Luncheon of the year. As you can see, we are once again a sellout crowd. With a crowd like this, any noise can be a problem. So please refrain from conversations during the business meeting and, of course, during the speaker. We have an hour for lunch, so you can talk to your heart's content at that hour. Also, we remind you to please mute and turn off your cell phones. Don't just turn down the volume. That doesn't prevent it from ringing. On a personal note, I would like to apologize for something that occurred at our last meeting. I heard from some Sisterhood members that they were embarrassed by me calling out their names of those that did not sign in for one reason or another, or that they did not show up at the meeting. If this offended you, I'm sorry. As a measure of precaution, there is a reason for me to have called out those names. When you are in our building, it is necessary for us to know who is there or not. If your name is not checked off, then you are not present, and this concerns me, Sisterhood, and the congregation. This is why that we ask if you have registered for the meeting and cannot attend, to please contact Michelle Weisbrot, June Jacobs, or myself. And now on to the meeting. First, a few thank yous. Again, thank you to reservation coordinators Michelle Weisbrot and June Jacobs, along with their sign-in crew, who do a marvelous job every meeting. To our decorations committee, headed by Ruth Green and Roz Kerman, as we grow, our attendance numbers soar. That committee's job has also expanded, since they are responsible for the beautiful tables we're all sitting at. Thanks in advance to our food committee, led by Donna Unterman. As you can imagine, it's not easy figuring out menus for 270 women. We hope you've enjoyed today's lunch. And if you ordered any of the delicious holiday side dishes from Sisterhood, we hope you enjoyed them as well. Committee Chair Donna Unterman has reached out to those of you that ordered the dessert strips, and we thank you for your understanding. Our program committee, headed by Dale Kahn and Robin Kleiman, are responsible for drawing this huge crowd. We have an incomparable speaker lineup this year, and the proof is all around you. We'd like to warmly welcome all the new members that are at our luncheon today. If you are seated with new or a few new members, please take the opportunity to introduce yourselves to them and welcome them to Sisterhood. Please use the name tags provided so we can get to know one another. One of our biggest annual fundraisers is Unique Boutique, which will be in April. We have two requests. First, if you go to any craft fairs and see a vendor that you think would be great for our boutique, let us know. Second, our auction chairman, Anita Sherman, will be looking for auction items. We are hoping that some of our members who have vacation homes or condos and are willing to offer time at those lovely places as an auction prize to bid on. If that's you, or you know of someone outside of Sisterhood who would consider donating a trip or time at a vacation spot, please let us know. Also, if you have tickets to events that you can donate, such as a few games from the Oriole season tickets or subscription theater or event tickets you may not use, as long as the dates are after April 30th, 2026. We would love to have that donation in our auction. Please email me and I will give you all the contact information. I know we've had some great potential donors out there. Thank you to our 3 vice presidents who keep us informed of our events, working with their committees to assist in any way they can to ensure that our activities and events are wonderful. Please give them a chance to share with you what's coming this year. Patty Levin.
We have to have a spotlight on us.
I know, it's horrible.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to do something a little different today, even though I can't see because of this light. I'm going to ask the chairpersons of the committees that I'm going to talk about to stand up so everybody can see who you are. So please do that for me. So I'm going to go in alphabetical order to relay information of each of my committees. The first one is the Agus Library. So Marlene, where's Marlene? There she is. Okay, everybody see her there? Yes. Okay. That's Marlene. She chairs the Agus Library, and she's doing a great job of getting that organized. So this is what she wanted to me to relay to you. Sorry. Okay, here we are. Now you can hear me, right? Good? Okay, so when you arrived for today's meeting, you noticed a cart of books waiting for you. The Agus Library cart will be available at all the general meetings. Each month, books on various topics will be available. After registering with the library, you may borrow a book for 3 weeks. If you need more time and there's no wait list for the book, you may renew it. There's 1 copy of the books on the author's series and the rabbi's books in the library. If any of these books are available on a meeting day, it will be on the cart. Also, if you are interested in certain topics and would like some of these books included on the next month's cart, please let us know. The Agus Library has over 2,600 books, and we're sure you will find that it's a comprehensive collection. The library will reopen starting Monday, October 20th at designated times. Please watch for the schedule, and if you need a book before then, contact Marlene. The library needs volunteers as well, so if you have an hour or more each week, you could help out in the library checking in and out books. Or maybe if there's a class, you're here anyway, go and help out in the library. So see Marlene about that as well. Okay, the next committee is Biblio Committee, chaired by Edie Bondroff and Nina Rosenzweig. So Edie and Nina, if you could stand up. That's Edie, and Nina's not here. Okay. So we had a great crowd for the first Biblio. We enjoyed listening to Paula Gallagher of the Baltimore County Public Library. She gave a brief synopsis of her fall reading suggestions of upcoming and newly published books. It was really interesting. If anybody wants to get a copy of that list of books, it was front and back, you could contact Edie, and we can get you the list. Susan? Susan Hackerman, sorry, Susan. Oh, Susan has them, actually. Great. That's Susan Hackerman, for anybody who doesn't, everybody knows Susan. And Susan Berman has her hand up. I don't see her, but anyway, go ahead. Oh, she wants a list? Huh? Okay. The next Biblio will be held on October 22nd. Mark your calendars. The book is Kissing Girls on Shabbat by Sarah Glass, and Edie Bondroff will be the reviewer. This is a memoir by Sarah Glass. This book takes you into the lives of the Hasidic community. You will learn all about their ways from the night of Malka's wedding to Yossi, through her divorce and remarriage, and that's all we're going to tell you because we don't want to ruin it for you. But it's called Kissing Girls on Shabbat, and the Biblio is on October 22nd. And then in December, on the 17th, Nina Rosenzweig will present a book called The Only Woman in the Room by Marie Benedict. Okay, so the next thing coming up is the fall game day. chaired by Esta Shine and Beverly Penn. Is Esta, I didn't see, Esta's over there, and Beverly? She'll be here later, but can you stand up, Esta? No? Yeah? Okay, but she's doing an incredible job of getting this game day together. So it's sold out, game day's sold out. We're gonna have some other activities, surprise, when those people come. And if you signed up, don't forget to come. On October 29th from noon to 3:30. Okay, the next thing is, listen to this, okay? The Rabbi Schwartz for a rabbi's book review. Mark your calendars, Wednesday, November 19th at 12:15. November 19th for Rabbi Schwartz's book review. The book is called The Plot Against America by Philip Roth. This novel is set in the early 40s during the Second World War and focuses on a Jewish family in Newark, New Jersey. The twist of the book is that Charles Lindbergh runs against FDR for president and wins. So you have an isolationist and an anti-Semite sitting in the White House. So if you haven't seen information about this in your email, there's a flyer in the Sisterhood, I think there's a flyer in the Sisterhood corner in the lobby. And be sure you RSVP to come because, we need to make sure we have enough room set up for that. And at that meeting for the rabbi's lunch, bring your lunch or dairy lunch, but we're going to provide the snacks and dessert and drinks. Okay, good. The next thing is fall fundraisers. We had that fundraiser. We sold shopping passes for Boscov's for $5 each. And we met our goal of raising $500. That means we sold 100 of those passes. There's still some out there, so if anybody still wants a pass, you can use it on October 22nd and get it 25% off at Boscov's on that day, even online. You don't have to go to the store. So if anybody wants this $5 shopping pass, let me know. And the last thing is Nitzvah, Susan Himmel, where are you? There she is back there, Susan Himmel. She has a great group of women who create lap Afghans for members of Beth El congregation or sisterhood members who are homebound, ill, or recuperating from surgery. So if anybody wants to participate in knitting 10-inch squares for Afghans, you can talk to Susan and go to her house once a week and knit. Or if you have somebody who you know is in need of one of these Afghans, let her know. And that's what I have. Thank you all. Enjoy the day. Okay?
Thank you, Patty. And now we'll call on Myra Coonan.
Good morning. I'm going to report on holiday sides and fundraisers. The holiday sides and fundraiser committees would like to thank everyone that participated and supported the holiday sales. And we want to apologize for the bakery's mix-up with the dessert strips. We want to also talk about the Judaica shop and remind you that it is open today after the luncheon. Go in and see all the beautiful new merchandise and take a look at the new hours that are posted on the door. For JTS Torah Fund, remember, cards are on sale at the back of the room to support the JTS Torah Fund. The sale of these cards supports the Jewish Theological Seminary, where all of Beth El's rabbis were educated. There's 6 cards for $20. They're all occasion cards, and a $180 donation makes you a benefactor, and you receive a beautiful pin. You can see Jane Croson or Gail Sugarman at the back of the room, and they are seated at table 1 if you can't find them at the back. And at this moment, we have 19 benefactors. Luncheon reservations. Our next general luncheon is November 3rd. Last day for in-person sign-up is Wednesday, October 22nd. Our meetings have been a sellout lately, so don't wait to sign up if you're interested in attending. If you are a subscription holder or have already signed up for October's meeting and find that you cannot attend, please let Michelle Weisbrot or June Jacobs, or Gail Glick, or myself know as soon as possible that you're not able to attend. And also, for those of you who have signed up for several meetings, luncheons, please be sure to keep your records of what you have signed up for. If you paid by credit card, you get a credit card receipt that you can print out that has the date that you signed up for. And if you pay by check, simply put it in your calendar so that you know what you are signed up for. Thank you.
And Helen Friedman?
Hi, everyone. So nice to see everybody, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday. I'm going to begin my committee reports with the program committee. I'm not going to talk about today's program because Robin and Dale will take care of that. But on Monday, November 3rd, our in-person speaker will be Jessica Long. Jessica is a Russian-born American Paralympic swimmer. She was born with congenital defects in her lower legs. At the age of 13 months, Jessica was adopted from a Russian orphanage by American parents. With support from her family, she has overcome her physical challenges to become one of the most accomplished U.S. athletes with 18 gold, 8 silver, and 5 bronze Paralympic medals. Jessica is also an author, speaker, and advocate, and will share her inspiring journey. Okay, next, shredding. That's coming up really soon. And actually, it's on Sunday, October 26th from 10 to 12 on Beth El's back parking lot. It's a very profitable project for Sisterhood and only takes 2 hours to complete. And it's also meaningful to the community for our Baltimore neighbors to participate in. You have plenty of time to gather your confidential papers or extra papers lying around your house that need to go. Please bag or box them in preparation for October 26th, Shredding Day. Also, shredding is a fun 2-hour time period for our Sisterhood members to work together and bond. Sandra Cameron will be passing around a sign-up sheet today for you to volunteer to help, and she will be in touch with you to discuss the plans. You can also volunteer your husband or child to help us. And Sandra and Denise France are chairing the event. If you have any questions, please contact them. Okay, contribution cards. And they're still selling in the Beth El office and at the general luncheon meetings. The cards are $3 for one and 4 cards for $10. Stop by and say hello and pick them up to have when you need one. And the money goes to the synagogue and the preschool, so it goes to really good places. And from 8/23 to 10/6, we have collected a total of $110. That's the total collected just for 25-26. Last year, from September 24 through August 2025, we collected $1,396. So thank you very much for your support on that. Sisterhood Shabbat will be held on Saturday, April 11th. Please put that on your calendar. It's a wonderful service led totally by Sisterhood members. The service will be followed by a beautiful and delicious Kiddush. It's always a wonderful service, so please put that on your calendar and plan to attend. Social action, which I think as you all walked in today, you saw what was going on. And Marcia and Anita would like to thank everyone for their continued support. Later in October, we will be preparing a meal for Hope Lodge. If anyone would like to participate, please contact Anita or Marcia. Also, coats will be collected at the shredding event on October 26th. And we will continue to collect tabs from soda, soup, and cat food cans for the Ronald McDonald House. In November, we will continue to collect coats, but we have a special collection for Paul's Place in Baltimore City. We will be collecting shaving cream, deodorant, soap, shampoo, and personal hygiene items for men. Okay, trip committee. The trip committee is happy to report we had a full bus of happy and contented guests in September visiting Annapolis. Our next trip will be on October 23rd when we go to Frederick. It should prove to be a very enjoyable day. Stopping first at Rose Hill Manor to tour the home of Maryland's first governor, then lunch on our own, and shopping in the interesting and unique boutiques. We end the day at the National Museum of Civil War Medicine and learn about the medical and nursing procedures of the Civil War era and see if any are still practiced today. And let's not forget the beautiful fall foliage we'll see on our ride to and from Frederick. Keep an eye out today for a new flyer. I think everybody has one on their tables. There are still seats available. We don't know how long that will last. Registration closes on October 17th, and that is just around the corner. You don't want to miss out on a great day. And November 16th finds us in New York City, where we will view the Van Cleef & Arpels special jewelry exhibit at the American Museum of Natural History. Then lunch on your own before heading to the popular musical Just in Time, which embraces the life and music of Bobby Darin. There are 2 full buses going to New York, but there is a wait list, so if you are still interested, put your name on the wait list. Another great trip is planned for Thursday, December 11th, when we head to Washington, D.C. to discover the People's House and the Planet Word Museum. Lunch will be at Founding Farmers. Information flyers for this day will be available soon, with registration opening on October 30th, so that's coming up. The trip committee has been busy planning the second part of the year with virtual trips to Venice and Argentina and much more. Important information to follow. If you have an interest in travel, and would like to join the trip committee, please contact chairs Robin Kleiman or Sandra Cameron, who are right in the front. And last but not least is Unique Boutique, and that will be held on Sunday, April 12th and Monday, April 13th. Initial vendor letters and contracts have been sent out to 131 potential vendors. There is no option to pay the $150 booth fee and complete the contract online, but if the vendor prefers, they can mail in their contract and payment to Beth El. Several vendors have already committed to Unique Boutique and sent in their payments online. Others have responded via email to say that they will be sending in a payment. An initial committee meeting will be held this fall. So thank you to all of my committee chairs and to all of you, and it looks like a great year.
Thank you to our vice presidents who've done a wonderful job. One of the things that everyone can do to help sisterhood is to be a program sponsor, which means making a donation in honor or in memory of someone or something and have that donation announced at the next program. Bobby Selnick will read the sponsors for today's meeting.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to announce the sponsorships. The first one is from Fern Rogo for this, I saw her friend there, for the speedy recovery from surgery for Susan Goldshire-Bell. Jane Crozen made 2 contributions. The first one was the yahrzeit of her beloved parents, Minna and Bernard Hertzfeld, and also for the naming of Avi and Remy Hamburger. Roz Kerman, this is a yashikoa to Marcy Kaplan. I'm pretty sure she's here. Marcy Kaplan, on being honored by Beth El congregation on Simchas Torah. So that's coming up. Congratulations, Marcy. That's a big honor. And the last one is from Gail Glick, wishing everyone in Sisterhood a happy, healthy, safe New Year. So thanks to everybody that does this. As you know, the money goes directly to Sisterhood, and it's on behalf of myself and Gloria Luchinsky.
Thank you, Bobby. Any checks that are made out, that you make out, should be made out to Beth El Sisterhood, not Beth El Congregation, since we're on separate accounts. Our raffle drawing for door prizes will be held at the conclusion of the program, so please stay for that. I'd like to call on Myra Coonan to lead us in a prayer and the Hamotzi.
As you are aware, tomorrow marks 2 years since the attack in Israel and the taking of the hostages. And so it is fitting to share some thoughts regarding this life-changing event in commemoration of October 7th. October 7th has undeniably left its mark in our hearts and memories. We remember where we were, what we were doing, and the sinking sense of horror and loss on what should have been a day of celebration and joy in our Torah. Too many Israeli lives were lost, too many hostages were taken, too many families were displaced. The aftermath has unleashed one horror after another. Rising waves of anti-Semitism in the diaspora, widespread evacuations in Israel's north, hundreds of Israeli soldiers fallen in battle, and people of Gaza killed because of Hamas's actions. These are times to address each of these horrors, to continue to demand hostages be returned home, to reckon with anti-Semitism at home and abroad, to soothe the divisions within the Jewish community. There will be a time for healing and rebuilding, God willing, speedily. But today, on the anniversary of the worst violence against Jews since the Holocaust, our task is to bear witness, to remember, and to mourn. So let's take a moment of silence. And let us say Amen. And let us pray that the negotiations taking place today lead the way to a lasting peace. Amen. And now for the Hamotzi, if you all get your challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Please remember, once everyone has been served, there will be one buffet table with remaining food on the kitchen wall, and you can go back for an additional helping. Marlene Siegel will now call table numbers for lunch.
I think this is the shorter route. Go ahead. Follow you.
Please listen for your table number and go to the table that you are assigned. There's A, B is on the kitchen side, and C, D is on the window side. First tables. Table A is 3. Table B is 22. Table C is table 2. And table D is 15. Please, once your table is called, please get up and go immediately to the table so that we can get everyone served as quickly as possible. Table 3 is going to A, B to 22, C to 2, and D to 15. Table 10, C. Table 10, go to C table. Table 9, go to table A. Table B, go to table 19. I'm sorry, 19, go to table B. And table 27, go to table D. Table 16, go to Table D. Table 16 should be going to Table D. Table 14, go to Table A. Table 26, go to Table 26. Go to Table 26, go to Table D, sorry. Table 11, go to Table C. Table 7, go to Table A. Table 7, go to Table A. Table 18, go to Table B. Table 5, go to Table C. Table 25, go to Table B. 25, go to Table B. Table 24, go to Table B. Table 4, go to Table A. Table 4. Ladies, please move along the lines a little faster. Table 12, go to Table C. Table 8, go to Table A. Table 17, go to Table B. Table 1, go to Table C. Table 20, go to Table D.
Dear, I got a little booze to get you through the day.
Anything to get me through.
Table 13, go to Table A. Table 23, go to Table B. Table 21, go to Table D. And Table 6, go to Table C. All tables have been called.
a minute. What the? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's better. This works well. Where's the mark? Oh, all the way over there. You're right. You're absolutely right.
You want to set this now? In the spot?
I think so. Yeah,
It's up to her.
Yeah, but if you don't mind getting this fair, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, they need the mirror.
And then I can take that one.
I just have two quick announcements. If anybody would like to buy a raffle, Harriet Cohen is sitting at table 12. And at the end of the meeting, if you don't mind, one person from each table taking the flowers and bringing them to the window table on this side of the room. Thank you.
Attention, can you hear me? I'd love my beer cats to come up, beer cutettes or whatever they are. The beer cut babes. Barbara Roth, Sharon Fryman. Barbara is. There's Barbara. Susan Ezrine. I knew I could count on all of you. All right, you're going to hold it for me a second. I'm going to say. This is what we're going to do, the blessings after the meal. So it's in the middle of your table. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Betsy Narrow, and I'm leading my wonderful group of singers for the beer cut, and I hope you all will respond. Ooh, good. Have a seat. Yay. Okay. Here, I'll do yours. Hold yours open. Hold it open. Are you ready? Let me hear you. Thank you. Chaverai nivarech. They're doing what you're supposed to do, so make sure you do it.
Hey, we need you.
Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach mi'ata v'ad olam. Birshut chaverai nivarech Eloheinu shelchanu mishalo. Now you.
Baruch Eloheinu shelchanu mishalo, u'tuvo hayinu.
Baruch Eloheinu shelchanu mishalo, uvtuvo chayinu. Baruch uvaruch shemo. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hazan et haolam kulo b'tuvo, b'chein v'chesed u'rachamim, rachamim. Ki le'olam chasto. Ba'avor shemo hagadol, ki hu elzonu farnes lakol, umetiv lakol, umechin mazon, lechol briotav asher bara, baruch atah Adonai, hazan et hakol. We are going to do the English, and then you're going to respond, and I want to hear all 270 of you. Praise be God, of whose bounty we have partaken and through whose goodness we live.
By your grace and loving kindness, O Lord, nourish and sustain us.
Praised are you, our God, who provides food for all.
We thank you for our liberation from bondage and our heritage of freedom.
We are grateful for your gift of Torah, enriching the minds and souls of our people.
Remember in mercy, O Lord, your people Israel and Jerusalem, your city.
Adonai, our God, bless all assembled at these tables.
Amen.
Bless all who are rebuilding Zion so that your word may again go forth from Jerusalem.
Amen.
Bless all who help to bring forth justice and peace in the world. Kakatu v'achalta v'savata uvarakta et Adonai Elohecha ha'aretz hatova asher natan lach baruch atah Adonai ha'aretz v'al hamazon uvenei Yerushalayim ir hakodesh bimheira v'yameinu bimheira v'yameinu uvenei Yerushalayim ir hakodesh bimheira v'yameinu baruch atah Adonai bonei barachamav Yerushalayim amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ho'el avinu malkeinu adireinu oreinu go aleinu yotzreinu kadoshenu kadosh Yaakov ro'enu ro'ei Yisrael hamelech hatov hametiv lakol Shebachol yom vayom, hu heitiv, hu meitiv, hu yetiv lanu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru, amen. Adonai oz li'amo yitain, Adonai yivorech et amo v'shalom. Everybody at the bottom, that means you've said the whole thing. If you can say it in English with me, and it says all. May God give strength to our people and bless us all with peace. And to that I say amen. Thank you. And I'm hoping more of you will come up so that we eventually only have 2 people sitting there and we have 270 here.
It only works if you really,
Yeah, it doesn't always.
Yeah, so I'll just.
maybe this should be on this side.
I can also, you know what we could do? I can just use one of those, and then for Q&A, I'll just give it back to you, and then I'll use that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
deal.
Oh, it's not on yet. Right
Press
there.
and hold it for a minute. Oh, I guess here. Oh, but this is. Go up there. If the mic works. I wish we could undo. It is. I wish we could undo this,
Should be able to.
but I don't know how.
Here. You can't stay up here because the people, they can't see us. They can't do this. Look, the screen's in the way.
Right. So shouldn't this be on?
And this, okay.
Just leave it.
Shouldn't it be off?
Thank you, it worked. Good afternoon. It is our pleasure to introduce Tali Cohn, the new Regional Director of the Anti-Defamation League, Washington, D.C.
In her new role, she will work at the forefront of combating anti-Semitism, bigotry, and hate in all forms.
Tali has held leadership roles in the Department of Homeland Security and Federal Emergency Management. She most recently served as Senior Counselor to Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandra Mayorkas.
Tali resides in Washington, D.C. with her husband and 2 children.
She returns to ADL after 25 years, having previously served as an intern.
It is my pleasure to introduce you Tali Cohn.
Hello. Can you all hear me in the back? I can be very loud, so just wave at me if I'm not loud enough. Okay, good. Hi, everyone. I am honored to be here with you. This is incredible. I hope you know how unusual and special it is to have a sisterhood like this. I really, truly am honored to be here. As was mentioned, I spent my career in the Department of Homeland Security. I'll talk a little bit about what brought me to ADL in this presentation. I do want to say that it is a really hard day to be here for all of us and for me too. So when Dale and I were talking about the date, I was a little concerned about speaking on October 6th just because of the emotions that it brings for me and it brings for all of you of what's coming tomorrow. So I just want to acknowledge that. Most of what I'm going to be talking about is post-October 7th anti-Semitism and what we're seeing in this region and nationally. We'll have plenty of time for Q&A. I'll be sure to kind of move quickly through the presentation. But I just want to make sure that I acknowledge that it's in the forefront of my mind, and I'm sure for all of you as well. So in terms of today, it's going to be a lot of oi, and then just like a little bit of joy at the end. Hopefully, I'm going to end with some happy points. The oi is real. ADL folks tend to talk a lot about statistics and data, and it's like you turn into Charlie Brown's teacher and it just sort of goes wah wah. And so I do want to say that if the main crux of what I'm going to say is it's bad, it's getting worse, but there are some good things. And that's kind of going to be what I talk about today. So it's a little oi, it's a little joy. In terms of ADL, so I think most people know about ADL, correct? Where most folks, yeah, okay. So ADL was founded in 1913, and it was in the wake of the Leo Frank murder. So for those who might not know the story of Leo Frank was living in New York. He went down to Atlanta, Georgia to work in his parents' pencil factory. And while there was accused of raping and murdering a 13-year-old employee. So it has since obviously been debunked. He was not the murderer. The person who fingered him is most likely the murderer. But he was sentenced to death. He then had his sentence commuted to life in prison, at which point a mob went to the jail, dragged him out, and then hung him from a tree. And so that was the first known lynching of a Jewish man. And obviously, this was 1913. That year, there were about 60 lynchings that we know about that are documented. But this was the first one in American history that was of a Jewish man. So in the wake of that, while this is going on, a man named Sigmund Livingston in Chicago, Illinois, and some colleagues started something called the Anti-Defamation League with a budget of about $200 annually and a little corner of Sigmund Livingston's law office. Now, as an aside, Sigmund Livingston's grandson, Richard Livingston, lives here in Baltimore and is a member of my board. So he and I were texting this morning about me being here. And he lives in the Baltimore community and is just a remarkable person, and his family continues to support ADL. It's still a family legacy that they've continued. So ADL, 1913, the goal is to stop the defamation of Jewish people and eliminate hatred everywhere. So it is a two-pronged mission as far as ADL is concerned. Over the years, we've worked quite a bit in gay rights, in the civil rights movement in the 1960s, and working across a number of different issues. Primarily, our focus, especially right now, is on anti-Semitism, given what we are seeing. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about first is the drivers of anti-Semitism. This will come as no shock to you. I will go through this slide relatively quickly. But these are the things that we tend to see when we see spikes in anti-Semitism. And I'll give you some, again, the data geek in me is going to give you some stats in a little bit. But this is when we start to see it getting worse. And so I'll point to a couple things. Pandemics. We've all heard some of the conspiracy theories around that. What I recently learned is that, have you heard the expression poison the well? You know that one? That comes from accusations against Jewish people during the bubonic plague, that they poisoned the wells, and that's how the bubonic plague happened. So just an interesting fun fact. But pandemics, nothing new for us being blamed for that. Terrorism, I'll tell you a quick story. So my family is mostly Jewish. Part of my family's not Jewish. And so one of my non-Jewish aunts said to my mother about 15 years ago, well, it is strange that no Jews died on 9/11. To my mother. And like to this day, like I get shivers when I think about that, but that's in my family. And so that exists, this idea of terrorism and when this happens and that somehow we're going to blame the Jews. So just a few examples of when we start to see this, the instability, the unrest, the environmental disasters. I came from FEMA and DHS, as was mentioned. And during Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, it was incredible how quickly it shifted to blaming the Jews for the hurricane and blaming them for the weather. And the mayor of Asheville, North Carolina is Jewish. My boss, Secretary Mayorkas, is Jewish. A number of other people at FEMA were Jewish. And so the crazy world that we are living in, it became the Jews' fault. And we had to protect some of our Jewish leaders in the department, including with 24-hour armed guards, because of this fear that somehow Jews had caused Hurricane Helene. So drivers of anti-Semitism, both old and new. I left this slide in just as an aside. I think, look, I grew up thinking that anti-Semitism was on the far right only. And I think one thing that I'm finding as I learn more about this field is that it's everywhere. And it didn't start when we had political parties. It started a long time ago. And so we can find the anti-Semitism, and we can find it on both the right and the left. I think some think that ADL has shifted, and now we're just focusing on sort of the progressive left and what the progressive left is doing. It's not the case. It's everywhere, and so we are trying to reach it in all its locations and in all its forms. All right, so I'm going to talk about two things today. First is anti-Semitism since 10/7 in terms of attitudes, and then also in terms of incidents. And I'm going to talk about this in the Maryland area when we get a little bit further in the presentation, but right now I want to talk about the attitudes in the United States specifically, a little bit in the world, around anti-Semitism. So last year, we did see a pretty significant surge. It's probably hard to read this in the back. You can just see the colors. That's all that really matters. So the point here is 2022, 20%, and then up to 24%. That doesn't sound that bad. So what this was is an anti-Semitic attitudes in the US. We polled scientifically with Columbia University across the United States and asked them 11 questions around Jewish tropes. Jews control the media. Jews are greedy. Jews are only out for other Jews or only supporting other Jews. So these are like the 11 tropes that we ask. And if you said yes to more than 6, that's an anti-Semitic attitude. You were check the box, anti-Semite. So 24% doesn't seem like that much, but when you see the historic lows that we were having 10 years ago, I think that paints the picture that I wanted to talk to you about a little bit. It's not that 10/7 turned the light switch on. It was growing, and it's been growing for 10 years. But now post 10/7, it's going through the roof. And I'll show you a couple things about that in a moment. Now, ADL, I mentioned to you, we bring a lot of the data. And so that's the one thing that I personally didn't know a lot about when I started with ADL. It's data-driven research. It's using statistics, and it's trying to use the research that we're doing to inform others and educate others. So especially post 10/7, we're doing all this research, we're trying to make it quantitative, we're trying to make it as data-driven as possible, and then we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we convince you of this? Like, we know it's true, but I think some people bristle when they hear us talk about anti-Semitism. And so one of the things that ADL is trying to do is identify what words resonate. So I thought anti-Jew bigotry, anti-Jew hate, anti-Jew bias, those would be effective. Our research shows they're not. Anti-Semitism as a word is effective. And that was something I didn't expect. I thought it was kind of an old-fashioned word for it, an inaccurate word for it, because we're talking about Semitic. But in fact, that is the word that we have found in our research works with the non-Jewish audience. So things like that we're looking at from sort of a pragmatic, research-driven lens as we do our work. In July of 25, we came out with this survey. We do a lot of surveys of post-Boulder firebombing. What are the views in the United States? And the one that I think really hurt me the most is the second one, that 27% believe Jews in America should answer for the actions of Israel. That was hard for me to take. Incidentally, I started in July of 2025. So this was like the first thing that came out when I started, and I was reading about the work that we're doing. I think when it comes to 34% said they do not know the term anti-Zionism, I think we have some complications in how we're educating the public about what we mean about Zionism, and if anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And I'm gonna guess that we don't all agree. And that's fine. You get two Jews, you get three opinions. Like, it's totally fine if we disagree, but I think the wording that we're using and the wording that our opponents are using is not necessarily meaning what we think it means to members of the general public. We also do research around the world. So one of the things that we look at is the ADL Global 100. It's actually 103 countries around the world, and we do survey research in each country to identify, again, those 11 tropes that I was mentioning. If you believed in 6 or more of those, check the box. So we're at 46% in this latest survey that we did of the Global 100. That was this past year. That's not great, and that's up from 26% the last time we did it 2 years before. So we're seeing, this is post 10/7. So first time, 26%, second time, 46%. So pretty remarkable increase. And again, are these people that you met on the street and you'd say, oh, that's an anti-Semite? Maybe not, but they believe 6 out of 11 tropes that we presented them with about Jews across the world. So we're doing a lot in the international sphere that I think is pretty interesting. This, just so you know, was about 27 or 28,000 people. So not a small, insignificant sample that we ran, but across 100 countries, it bears doing additional research because this number scares the living daylights out of me. All right, so we talked a little bit about the attitudes. It's not great, 46% around the world. Here at home, also pretty significantly bad in terms of blaming Jews for what's happening over in Israel and Gaza. What I want to talk about now are some of the incidents that we're seeing. So when I talk about incidents, I want to share this. I'm going to leave this up for a second. These are the incidents in 2024 that we've documented. We only include about 25% of the incidents that are reported to us. They're reported through law enforcement, they're reported through our website. Here in Baltimore, you probably are reporting through the Associated or the Baltimore Jewish Council, and then it comes to us. All that data is reviewed by our team, and then we determine, is that better? Oh, good, I can still see you. So, yeah, these numbers are probably really small in the back. But again, the color is what matters. So from 23 to 24, we saw a 5% increase in the number of incidents. The problem is we saw an 893% increase over the last 10 years. And over the last 2 years, from 2022 to 24, we saw a 344% increase. And I give you the information about how many we include of what we receive, because sometimes I do talk to people who say, well, what counts as an incident? Well, we have a methodology of what counts as an incident, and we only include 25% of what we receive. So a protest where someone is shouting Free Palestine, not anti-Semitic. Standing in front of Beth El shouting Free Palestine, anti-Semitic. So that's where the line is drawn for ADL and how we identify these incidents. I also get asked a lot, well, is this all just happening on the college campuses? No. So I would say maybe 25% to a third are on college campuses. Most of them are out in the public, and we'll talk a little bit about it, at, again, gatherings, protests, it's active vandalism, things like that. That's what we see a lot of. I get all of the incidents that come in from DC. I should say, my region is DC, Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina. So whenever an incident comes in, I get pinged. So I see them all come in, and I see which ones I think are probably going to get attention and which ones aren't. Somebody here is going to ask me about Kash Patel. Yeah, I know. I will answer that question. I will say, I'm going to give you an example right now of our relationship with law enforcement. Last week, we got a report of a woman on Twitter threatening to kill 2 people in her town. Those people are not Jewish. She is not Jewish. But ADL does work behind the scenes tracking people who are on our radar. And so we did see the threats that this person made. It wasn't just like little threats. It was very specific threats against these 2 individuals. So we notified FBI and we notified local law enforcement, and she got put on a mandatory 72-hour medical hold. And so I don't know where she is right now, but we did take the proper precautions to get her off the street and get her some help. And so again, not Jewish, her targets were not Jewish, but there's somebody that was on our radar as having previously said some stuff. I will also say I got very quickly doxxed when I started this job. So all kinds of stuff got put online. Again, Jews controlling the weather. So they pulled in my LinkedIn profile, and then I worked at DHS, and then I worked at FEMA, and now I'm here, and it's a conspiracy by the Jews. And anyway, it was somebody who we knew and had been following. So within an hour of him posting, security notified me and talked about my precautions and things like that. And then he was banned from Twitter that day. FBI got notified. And so our relationship with law enforcement is very strong. Those are the types of incidents that are the ones that we know are going to get tracked. Again, the first one wasn't anti-Semitism related, so it wouldn't be here. But the one about me, that would have gotten included. So 9,354 in 2024, up 893%. And again, we could talk about it a little bit more, especially about the stuff with K through 12 I'm going to get to. Recent attacks, I know you all know about this. So April 15th, that's Josh Shapiro's house. May 21st, that was the Capitol Jewish Museum. Incidentally, that couple was very good friends with members of my team. Sarah was in the office 2 weeks before. So the situation in DC has been extremely difficult for the ADL team. And then June 1st in Boulder. Now, this is a slightly older slide, so it doesn't include Manchester and what happened a few days ago in Manchester. I will tell you that there have been 12 identified terrorist attacks since 10/7. These included, but there are also another 9 out there that since 10/7. In the last 10 years, there were 15 total. So 12 since 10/7, 15 over the last 10 years. So it's happening now more than it was happening before 10/7. Okay, I'm going to just pivot a little bit and talk about what's happening in our region. Again, my region includes North Carolina and Virginia and DC, but I'm going to talk a little bit specifically about Maryland here. There have been some incidents up here. I know that an Israeli business owner had some vandalism at his property. We were actually up here meeting with the associated members of my team that day, so we're talking to them about it. But we have had a number of other ones. We've had rabbis attacked. Yesterday, a New Jersey rabbi was attacked while he was setting up the sukkah. So we are seeing attacks against the rabbinate and also attacks against people on their way to synagogue. We are seeing a lot of graffiti on the way to synagogue. So that seems to be something that is happening quite a bit. So it'll be on the sidewalk, it'll be on the walls, it'll be on the telephone poles as you're going to shul. And that's intentional. We have a community down in North Carolina. They cannot get the swastika taken down. It's been since May. And it's right at like a major intersection in their town near 2 synagogues. The kids have to drive by it every day. At one point, someone put duct tape to try and block it. But it's not getting the attention that it needs. So that's one that we're working on. All right, anti-Semitism in Maryland. This is last year. So 356 incidents that, again, we confirmed. So 100% come in, 25% of that get actually accounted for. So 356. Unfortunately, that makes us 6th in the nation. When we look at K through 12, we're 3rd in the nation. We account for 12% of the incidents happening in K through 12 schools. So when people ask me what my priority is for the region, K through 12 is pretty high. I mean, I think we were focusing on campuses, rightly so, the past couple years, and that's still a problem, but we have not tackled as a Jewish community what's happening in our K through 12 schools. And that hurts me as a parent. So 356, most of these are gonna be vandalism and harassment, not a lot of assaults, not a lot of bomb threats, which is good. Other states have had a lot of bomb threats. Pretty significant in terms of white supremacy activity in Maryland. That surprised me. I did not think that we had the level of white supremacist activity, flyering, things like that in the state. Most of what we are seeing is not in Baltimore County. Montgomery County, where I live, is where a lot of this is happening, about 90% or so of the incidents. Now, some of that is reporting. Not all of it, though. It's a significant number. And then let's talk about Baltimore County. So these don't add up to 94, just in case somebody wants to do math. I think I left off a bomb threat and something else, but these are sort of the ones I wanted to point to. So incidents of harassment, sort of yelling at Jewish people on the way to synagogue or a rabbi, vandalism pretty heavily in this area, 1 assault, and then the parades and gathering. This is when parades or gatherings shift into anti-Semitism. So again, Free Palestine, not anti-Semitic. We would count globalize the Intifada as crossing the line for us. So there are certain statements that are made. In our recent survey, we found that about 50% of protests include language that crosses the line. I personally was surprised it was 50%. I would have thought it would have been higher. So 50% don't mention it and are just considered protests. Okay, this is not going to come as a huge surprise to you. So part of what we're seeing is an increase in anti-Semitism related to Israel. And so post-October 7th, we did have this spike that I showed you of 344% of incidents. We are seeing that 58% of those incidents 58% of those incidents were in fact related to Israel or somehow connected to Gaza. So that is something that I think we're still unpacking as an organization and figuring out how to talk about this. Again, when you have such a large percentage of the United States that don't know what anti-Zionism is or what Zionist means, I think we're having a little bit of an issue explaining, especially to those college kids, why they should not say globalize the Intifada or from the river to the sea. So there's an education piece that I think we and other members of the Jewish community need to sort of look at and start targeting in terms of what words we're using and how we educate kids. Now, we came out today with a new report. So in, I don't want to say in honor of October 7th, as a result of October 7th, we did a recent study with JFNA, so the Jewish Federation of North America. And so you'll read about it. It's starting to get picked up. Axios just picked it up and a number of other places. Right now, we're finding that in a recent survey, 57% of Jewish Americans believe that this is part of our normal Jewish experience. And I think that's true. I was watching an Instagram clip that got suggested to me of a chef who, or no, excuse me, she was a musician that was doing an event at a synagogue, and she wasn't Jewish, and she was shocked at the security. And I came today, and I was not shocked by the security. There's armed guards at Or Kodesh, where I go. And I think it is normal to us. I could just walk into my synagogue growing up. But I think this has, not 10-7, it's been before that, but I think we do think this is normal. And so when someone on Instagram is talking about how crazy this is and how shameful that we have to deal with this, and it was a really empathetic, beautiful video, but I think I sometimes forget that this isn't normal. So anyway, so recent research. Now, I'm gonna shift to some joy. So sometimes people call them October 8th Jews. Maybe I fall into that category, I don't know. But 39% who have experienced some form of anti-Semitism or who witnessed some form of anti-Semitism, 39% sought greater connection to the Jewish community. And I think that's tremendous. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what ADL is doing, but I want to talk a little bit about the oi and the joy. Well, first, so I worked 24 years with the Department of Homeland Security. So I started as an intern for ADL 25 years ago, like Dale said, and it was in New Haven, Connecticut. We don't even have an office anymore in New Haven, but it was in New Haven, Connecticut, and I was in college, and I loved it, and I thought, this is what I want to do. I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, and similar to Baltimore, a very strong, historic Jewish community. I thought half the world was Jewish, half was Irish Catholic. I mean, it was just, this was my normal life. And so I worked for ADL and I loved it, and I thought, this is what I want to do. And then when I was a senior in college, 9/11 happened. And I'm sure you remember where you were on 9/11. And my mother always talks about where she was when Kennedy was shot. My husband's a little older than me. He talks about when the Challenger exploded. So everybody remembers these pivotal moments in their lives, and for me, it was 9/11. So I was in a 20th century American history class at Brown University where I went, and it's like a light bulb, just on and off. And so for me, ADL stopped being what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do something around counterterrorism. So the department stood up in March of '03, and I got hired in April of '03, and I got my little founding pin for ADL, for DHS, for being one of the founding members of the department, and I stayed there, and I loved it, and I still love it. But a couple things happened to me post-October 7th, or around October 7th, I should say. One is that I became a mom. So I have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old at home, and they're incredible. And I think when you have kids, something in your brain just like mutates or rewires. And so all of a sudden, it's just like protecting them and protecting what I want their life to be becomes really important. And October 7th happened, and I mean, yes, there was a change of administration, so I left DHS, but mostly it was the fact that as a mom, I started to get really concerned about what I was seeing. This past year, while I was going through the interview process for this job, both of my kids' Jewish preschools were vandalized within a year. And that's not normal. And a friend of mine asked me, well, why are you going to ADL? Are you worried you're going to get radicalized? Harvard educated, very nice man, good friends with my husband. And I said, well, both of my kids' schools were vandalized in the last year, so no, I'm not worried about getting radicalized. And his face just went white, because he didn't know about either of those. We know about the vandalism that's happening and the assaults and the harassment, but I think a lot of other people don't. And so for me, shifting back to ADL 25 years later was a no-brainer. I mean, I think I'm the luckiest person in the world to get to work for ADL and get to come to things like this and get paid for it. I mean, this is the greatest job ever. Now, what are we doing? So here's we get into a little bit of the joy. So I told you we're very data-driven. We have been focusing heavily in the last 10 years, especially post-10/7, on that data. So we have a Center on Extremism. Those are the guys and gals that are watching social media, identifying threats, reporting them to the FBI, all of that. We also have our Center on Anti-Semitism Research. They're the ones who are figuring out how do we talk about this with a non-Jewish audience. What are some of the trends that we're seeing? So they are writing those reports. They recently did a report about online extremism and the fact that 2 of the recent school shooters were radicalized online and were using the same websites. One of them, some of the online game references that he had scrawled into the gun, ADL and my team specifically in the DC office helped translate because it was in Russian. And so we had somebody that was able to help translate it. So we are working on that with law enforcement to sort of identify any trends, see what's happening in the communities, and then respond to them through our regional offices like mine. We have some interesting stuff coming out that I'm excited about. As I mentioned, K through 12 is really important to me. I'm sure it's important to you all. You have kids and grandkids. We are working on a review of the top 10 most popular online video games. And that's going to be interesting. We're not just looking at it through an anti-Semitism lens. We're looking at it in terms of homophobic, Islamophobic, racist, runs the gamut. So we're looking at how these games are perpetuating some of this online hate and what the gaming companies are doing to address it. So that report is coming out next month. I'm looking forward to that one. We are also doing some work around Fortune 100 companies. We're starting with Fortune 100. We're going to go to Fortune 500 and looking at what they're doing for their workforce and also how they're supporting the Jewish community responding to BDS movements and things like that. So we're going to have that research come out as well. We are going to come out with our new version of the scorecard for universities. So when I started at ADL, I wasn't so sure how I felt about the scorecard. I am a believer. It has helped. It has absolutely moved the needle on college campuses and brought awareness on what it's like to be a Jewish student right now on these campuses. So we were just talking about Elon recently. We were at the table, we were talking about Elon. Elon is an A. A. It is the gold standard for how we're treating young people. We have schools in our region that are not. We have 16 schools in our region that are scorecard schools. We work with each of them. I met with the president of AU, GW, Georgetown. We went down to UNC in Chapel Hill. We went down to Duke. So we're trying to meet with all the schools to talk to them about what they can expect. I am very optimistic that our 16 schools are going to do better. So the regional schools that you're familiar with, I'm meeting with, hopefully later in the month, with President Pines at University of Maryland, for those of you who have kids or grandkids that have gone there or you went there. I'm looking forward to that. That is one of the largest Jewish communities in a university in the country. It's 20% Jewish. So for me, making sure that in the DC backyard, in College Park, we're protecting our students. So those are some of the things that I think ADL is doing that is complementary and helpful. When it comes to Baltimore, we work entirely through the Associated and BJC. So I talk to Howard at BJC all the time. I talk to Andrew at the Associated. So everything that we're trying to do is going to be complementary to what they are doing. This is a vibrant community. It's harder in places like Asheville, North Carolina, who might not have an Associated. So I might be focusing a little bit on North Carolina this year just to sort of help identify some of the issues that they have here. But Baltimore is also a priority for me, and figuring out how ADL can be supportive in this area. So in terms of some of the joy, so I'll tell you a couple things. One, the joy is, this is one of the largest sisterhoods, I think, on the East Coast or in the United States. And so that brings me joy. My synagogue in Maryland, down in Chevy Chase area, has grown 25% since October 7th. So people are, like that statistic I gave you, people are finding their way back to the faith. And it's a lot of young families too, which I'm happy about, to see that people are finding an opportunity to re-educate themselves and to bring their children in. Because the kids in the K through 12 schools that are having the problem, they need to be in Hebrew school. And they need to be learning about how to talk about the bullying and how to address it when they're experiencing it in those public school settings. So I'm thrilled about what's happening there. And then I'll tell you one other story. Has anyone heard of Elizabeth Zurkov? Elizabeth Zurkov. She was a Russian-Israeli Princeton student who was doing research in Iraq in 2023. And she was taken in March of 2023, so before October 7th. And no one really hears about her because she's not American, but she was a Princeton student, an Israeli-Russian citizen, and she was in Iraq. She went over on a Russian passport. They didn't realize that she was Israeli. Hezbollah found out, and they took her. And so she spent 903 days in captivity, being tortured. And so I'm gonna get emotional talking about this. So on Friday, we were on our all-staff meeting for ADL. There's like 400 of us. And our CEO got on and he said, well, tells us about Elizabeth and says, well, what you don't know probably is that her sister works for ADL. And so behind the scenes, because they didn't want to raise too much of a awareness of Elizabeth's case or Emma, her sister's case, the ADL CEO arranged a meeting with Netanyahu. And he arranged a meeting with Tony Blinken. And he arranged meetings with some of the senators that have a role to play in helping with the hostage release. And she was released earlier this month and is back home, and she joined our staff meeting. Yeah. She joined our staff meeting on Friday to thank ADL for what they did, and Emma was very involved in trying to get her out and raising awareness. And it was just beautiful. And it made me so happy that I work for an organization that gave her all the time off she needed, that set up these meetings for her, that flew her around the world to get her sister out. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, I won't go into too much detail, but she was tortured. And she was caught for being Jewish. And so we have 48 hostages, obviously still there in Gaza, and we need to bring them home. And this was a hostage story I hadn't heard yet. It was a little different, and so I just wanted to share that with you all, because that gives me joy. I mean, people came together and got her out. The Jewish community got her out. And so, yes, things are pretty bad. We're seeing a rise. We're seeing a rise online. We're seeing a rise in K through 12. We're seeing a rise on campuses. Kids are back in college now. We're having some problems. But we also come together. And I think moments like this here today, the fact my synagogue is growing, the fact my kids are protected, and the fact that Elizabeth Zurkov is home in Israel, I think that's what makes me happy. It gives me joy. So I'll stop, and maybe we would do some questions.
This is a phenomenal presentation. Thank you. My question has to do with on college campuses where you say you're confident that the scores will get better. Like what actions can be taken or do you suggest it? What are you doing to make those scores better?
So you can hear me, right? I have this new mic. Okay. A lot of what we are seeing on the campuses is changing policies to make it clear where the lines are for protests. Covering your face to prevent the school from knowing who you are when you're yelling, globalize the Intifada. We need that documented in a student handbook, otherwise the kids can't be educated on what that really means. So a lot of it is developing policy, a lot of it is supporting the Hillel. So we work very closely with the Hillel rabbis on our campuses. We meet with them just as much as we meet with the university. There are times where we choose not to comment and stay quiet because we don't want to make it worse for the students on campus, and we don't want to make it harder for the administration. Because it's not like all these university presidents are anti-Semitic. They just have a lot on their plate, and it's very hard in this political climate to be focusing on anything that looks like DEI. And so we have challenges in working with the schools, but the sharing of best practices is working great. So American University has been meeting with GW, and they're doing incredible work around dialogue and discourse and how to have difficult conversations. And so things like that are working. In terms of what we all can do, we need to be reporting these. 80% of college kids are seeing things and not reporting it. Similarly, around 78% of college kids say that they have to hide their Jewish identity on campus. So they're not wearing their stars or the chai. And that's a problem. I mean, the fact that you have to hide your identity because you're worried about what's going to happen, the fact that 80% are not reporting because they don't think anything's going to get done about it. So if your kids and grandkids are telling you that stuff is happening, they have to report it. Even if they think nothing is going to come of it, the data helps. Because sometimes the schools tell us, that's not a problem. I had a university president tell me, well, they don't know what that means, when referring to globalize the Intifada and from the river to the sea. So we need to educate them, and we need to shine a light on it, and we need data to do it, and we need to make sure that we are supporting the schools behind the scenes where appropriate, but also making sure people know that there are issues.
So when the Vietnam War was going on, my husband was in the Air Force, and the drill sergeant said, who are my Catholics, and who are my Protestants, and who are my Jews? And he was the only one. And, you know, he threw something at each one of them to be in charge. And one night, my husband woke up, and all of the people were standing around him because they believed that Jews had horns that came out at night. And these ignorant people, I don't even know where that started or where it came from, but they thought Jews had horns.
Yep. Yes. Absolutely. And that's when you look at things like controlling the weather and all the, it's like, where does this come from?
Here, you mentioned Kash Patel, but you didn't really.
Yeah.
They broke ties with the ADL, and then a couple of days later, ADL took something off of their website and repaired it. I don't understand. What was on your website to make the FBI break ties, and did you capitulate to the FBI? My question.
Fair. And complicated. And I'm not sure my answer is going to be satisfactory. I think it's a really hard time to thread the needle. Well, here's what I would say. We have a glossary of hate. We've had it for a very long time. It's pithy. Each entry, it's like a dictionary. Each entry is about, I don't know, 50 to 250 words. So it's pretty short. There's no opportunity for nuance. And the thing has 1,000 entries, and we weren't updating it very regularly. We have shifted to data. We do interactive maps. We have this heat map where you can look and see where the incidents are. That's what we've shifted to technologically. And then we had this dinosaur of a document that had 1,000 entries, and it hadn't been updated. And it's a tough political climate, obviously, and social media makes things worse. And so we hadn't updated in every place about Turning Points USA, and about Charlie Kirk. And then he was murdered. And we didn't catch it. And so, yes, it is true, we took it down. Some members of my board, I got an earful all about that. Some members of my board thought we should have left it up and just take out that entry. The problem was it did go viral on social media, and all these other sections of the glossary were getting screenshot. So like the Celtic cross. We're not saying the Celtic cross is anti-Semitic. It was in the context of something, but they're screenshotting it. And again, 250 words max. There's no room for nuance. And so we had stuff on there that was being misused and manipulated, and it was going viral. And it is true that we are in an interesting political time. And so I do not envy people that have to make that decision. I didn't make it. I think each of us might have done something a little differently if given the chance, but that was a hard call. And so that's what they were referring to, and that we somehow were against Charlie Kirk, and we're a domestic terror organization, and yada yada. Now, we have not heard from the FBI. All we saw is what you all saw. What technically he said is that we are no longer doing a particular training. So we train the cadets along with the Holocaust Museum. When you're an FBI cadet, you do a training with ADL and with the Holocaust Museum. So that's technically what he was referring to. All that other stuff we do is still happening until we are told otherwise. And we have the utmost respect for FBI and for our law enforcement community. A huge part of what our resources go to is disrupting this stuff. And I can tell you, I talked to people at Baltimore Jewish Council, people down in DC at the JCRC. They're not happy about it. And so I think there might be a response, but again, it has to be very tempered, and we have to figure out what the right way is, and we don't know if this is actually a thing or if it's maybe just one training, in which case, okay, fine. So that's tricky. It is a fair question. I knew somebody was going to ask it, so thank you for asking.
You're welcome. So my question is, if we did not, and I do not say that this should have been the case, had gone in and blown up all of Gaza and destroyed everything in looking, would there have been ammunition then for all the anti-Semitism that went on? Do you think that is the only reason for the anti-Semitism? What would have happened?
I think it was already rising. I think it threw gasoline on the fire. So I think the fire was already going. I mean, our house was on fire, but I think this was the gasoline. And so I do think what we're seeing on campuses, what we're seeing with kids in the schools, that's Gaza. That's Free Palestine. And, you know, we're 15 million across the world, and 6 million of us live in Israel, rough numbers. They're blaming us for everything that's done. And it's just an administration. It is not a people. And so you can criticize Netanyahu all you want. I mean, come over to my house, you'll hear my mother. But that is not anti-Semitic. But what we're seeing is the total conflation of Jews and Israel and the destruction of Gaza.
Right here.
You talked about K through 12 issues. What are you referring to? What incidents or specifications do you refer to?
A lot of what we see is the bullying and the harassment. It's the administrators not taking it seriously. In a couple instances, it is teachers. We have problematic teachers, not just in our region, but in other places, who have decided to make their goal teaching classes, even if it has nothing to do with the subject that they're teaching, about what's happening in Gaza. And so we are seeing some issues with faculty, but we're mostly seeing swastikas in bathrooms and kill all Jews and 6 million wasn't enough, and those are the types of things we're seeing that the kids are getting in the bathrooms. That is more the high school. Some of the younger kids, there's still stuff happening. I mean, look, Robbie Metzler had a swastika on his notebook in 4th grade when I was in 4th grade with him. Robbie wasn't anti-Semite, he was just an idiot. I mean, there's like an education gap that isn't happening, you know, that we need to focus on in the K through 12, because the young kids don't know what they're saying or what they're doing. They're hearing it on TV or they're hearing it from TikTok or their parents. And so that's the problem we're having. If you have an online presence, not even an influencer, and you're Jewish, you get double the hate. Hands down. That's one of our studies that came out. Being Jewish online is awful. And so some of these kids are on Twitter or TikTok or whatever it might be, not Facebook, and they're getting bullied and harassed. And so that's not in the schools, but I still count that as K through 12 related.
I wanted to go back to your comment about the horns and the tail. My mother was born in Buena Vista, Virginia in 1921. She was born in a hospital where being born in a hospital was not the usual. People were generally born at home. It was the Blue Ridge Mountains. The local minister had to come out and get rid of the crowds because the farmers came to see the Jewish baby before they took the horns and the tail off. So I find it interesting, and I asked, I think it was Mark Loeb, and I can't swear to this, but I was told that this image dates back to the scriptures, which describe Moses as light emanating from him to heaven. And Michelangelo, when he sculpted Moses, tried to show that light. They came out looking like horns. And so this, you want to know where it came from. And so I wanted to tell you.
I have never heard that. Thank you for sharing that.
I just want to say that I have a son that lives in Israel and has been there almost 16 years. He lives and works in Jerusalem in an office with anti-Semitism, which I guess I always thought of Israel as the Jewish state. And I am absolutely shocked that this is going on in his work office. And it's basically because not everybody in Israel is Jewish. And he is a Zionist with his Israeli flag up by his desk. And a couple of times he has been told that somebody has thrown his flag on the floor. So I do know that my son can get a little angry and just, he knows what's going on. But this time he went to HR and he said, look, somebody is throwing my Israeli flag on the floor. I am not saying to you I know who is doing it, but I do want you to know that everybody here is aware there are cameras in our office. So as HR, it's not a problem for you to find out who is doing it. And the next week he was told, I'm sorry, we do have cameras, but it was blurry. That's in Israel.
Me? Okay, my question, I'm over here. You briefly mentioned speaking to non-Jewish groups, but are those groups that invite you to come and speak, or is it where the ADL is saying, we're having this get together if you're interested in that basically it's in a non-Jewish area, and when you speak to them, what is the tone and what is their reaction?
Well, I'll take the first part. So, especially when we're talking about educators, they're non-Jewish. So we will do trainings for school administrators or for teachers, and they're non-Jewish. And so what we talk to them about is totally different. The ones that I have been to have been completely respectful, but you have to start from the beginning. And so even talking about, they don't know what Ashkenazi means, or they don't know about the founding in 1948. So trying to at least give them some context, explaining why Israel is so important to Jews, and explaining why for 80 to 90% of us see Israel as important to Jews, not all of us, but 80 to 90% do. And so explaining that context. And so it's a 101. It's a totally different perspective. Now, I am going down to Richmond next month to do an interfaith event. And so it's going to be 20 rabbis and 80 Christian clergy. And they're not calling it this. I would call it difficult conversations with Jews. I mean, it's 20 and 80 for a reason. So it's to help educate those involved in the Christian world about what we're experiencing. And I desperately want ADL to do more of that. And not just ADL, BJC, other organizations also, because I think if we are only talking to each other, we're not really improving anything. We're just sort of examining the problem. And so that type of work I'm really excited about, but the way we talk about it is going to be totally different. And that's some of that work around the statistics and all of that stuff. I probably wouldn't bring any of that in. We are doing some interesting work with the Holocaust Museum, like I mentioned. There's another organization called TOLI in the area, and they bring in teachers to the Holocaust Museum to teach them there. There's the Greenspan Center in North Carolina. I'm meeting with them Friday. And they do some interesting work with non-Jewish faculty. So there's a lot that we do. It's just it's a totally different experience.
Back here.
Tali, hi. Can you please comment to help some of us on the recent Apple TV show, The Savant, that was put on hold allegedly because of information about ADL's anti-extremism unit? Thanks.
So I hadn't heard it was put on hold. That's news to me, so I'll have to ask when I get back to the office. I had not heard it was on hold. It is based on a former employee, and it's about their working with law enforcement and FBI, and some of the things that I mentioned about, it's called COE, or Center on Extremism. And so there is supposed to be a show. I hadn't heard that it was paused. The timing with the situation with FBI is concerning, and I want to make sure everyone at ADL is safe. I mean, we take our security very seriously, but still, I hadn't heard that. So that's an interesting factoid. I'll have to check.
Hi. My question for you is, what recommendation do you have for us as this collective, Beth El Sisterhood? What are ways in which we can, either as a collective or individually, help with anti-Semitism, racism, working with the ADL or BJC? Do you have any recommendations for us?
Give money? No. It is a resource-constrained environment in the world of Jewish nonprofits, and BJC and Associated are incredible. ADL is incredible in my opinion. So yes, support Jewish organizations. And there are other ones. There are Jewish Family Services and other things that are doing incredible work. So I always encourage, we need to be out in the community, and we need to be supporting each other financially. Okay, so fine. I had to say that. Now, other things that you can do. I really like the interfaith piece. We got to figure out a way to work with the churches and the mosques, and that is local. So I have a colleague in Ohio, and she's doing incredible work that I can't replicate. I mean, she's got the relationships with the diocese, and she's able to pull this together quarterly, and we need to figure out ways to do that, and you're going to be more equipped than I am to make those inroads. And so I really believe that our interfaith work and our work with the Black community needs to get repaired. Because of October 7th, I think we as a Jewish community are focusing heavily on our own house being on fire, but I think that we need to make sure that we're bringing our allies along, and that's what I would love to see more from the Jewish community. I think that's the most important thing. The K through 12 stuff, we got to figure out a way to work on that, and that's getting the teachers educated. That's hard to do. And ADL we're not doing the in-person training the way we used to. We can't afford it. So we're doing a lot of online training, which is really good. The teachers can do it in their free time. We have interesting 5-minute modules, so you can just kind of do it while you're microwaving your lunch. And so we're trying to come up with new ways to do things, but we need the educators to be educated. And so that's going to take some time to figure out how to do that when there's thousands of them and 400 of us.
Hi. Hi. You said that you talked to Hillel, which has a very big influence on the college campus.
Can't hear you.
Put the mic to your lips. Okay, you said that here we go. You said that you talked to Hillel, which has a very large influence on the college campuses, but so does Chabad.
True.
Do you talk to them? They come from a completely different angle, but
Yeah.
do you talk to them?
So my employee who works with the college campuses is a Chabadnik, and so she is She works with them a lot. I gotta tell you, I'm just not as familiar. I didn't grow up in that world. And 2 weeks ago, I was in North